King's Gridiron Challenge TV. Hello everyone, this is your commissioner, King Kevin Wright. This is video number 1 of 16 for the 2013 team previews. We will start with the Pink Flamingos today, Monday, August 15th. 5th, just kidding, haha, making sure you're all paying attention. Now that you are, Monday, Pink Flamingos. Tuesday, we move on to Monster Boners. Wednesday, we move on to New York Holy Divers. And Thursday, we will do Bowman Express. When we finish with Bowman Express, we will do a recap of the Madden division with all 4 teams and predicted outcome of said division. Let's get this going with the Pink Flamingos. As we all know, she is the First Lady of King's Gridiron Challenge, 2-time King's Gridiron Challenge champion, and the only one of us that has been to back-to-back title games. I think you are all in agreement with me when we can say we will never forgive her for allowing Tyler's boys to win the title and be our champion. But on to the 2013 season. Review. 2012, she finished 7-6, made it to the title game, and lost. 2011, also finished 7-6, made it to the title game, and beat the Bloody Sundays, formerly Roethlisberger's Peanuts. Then, in 2010, she finished a very respectable 10-3, finished 8th overall. Just because you're a top team doesn't mean you go far in the playoffs. Though 3 years in the playoffs, it's all as far back as I'm going. Title contending team, also playoff team for the last 3 years. Solid contributor to our league and looking to make another playoff run this year. 2013 team. As we all know, we're in new divisions. She has 3 new division opponents, the Monster Boners, New York Holy Divers, and Bowman Express. 3 teams that did not make the playoffs last year. Teams that are looking to rebound, but it's always hard to rebound and start a playoff run when you haven't made the playoffs before without too many big additions to the team. So, looks like the Pink Flamingos are going to be the odds-on favorite to win the Madden division. Team that she's got, we're going to go ahead in the league office will predict a 9-4 season, a Madden division crown, and a playoff appearance. Now let's dive deeper and explain why we have come to that conclusion. Start at the top. Tom Brady, consensus top 5 quarterback. The last, God knows how many years, 5, 6, 7 years. Looks to be another top quarterback this year with that system, the way he plays and everything else. I see another top 5 finish for him. All new receiving core. The only one left is Rob Gronkowski, who is injury prone. Now, whole new system. Possible that Tom Brady can really slide out, maybe be only top 7, not top 5. Not completely out of the question that Tom Brady finishes outside the top 10 quarterbacks this year. All new receiving core. Danny Amendola, though, replacing Welker. Solid slot guy, just like Welker. Young, white guy from Texas Tech, can put up big numbers. Probably a little more athletic and versatile than Wes Welker was. Can he duplicate Welker's numbers in New England? Possibly. Can he achieve more? Possibly as well. Maybe they go and run a different system, not quite as many 2 tight end sets. We'll see how that plays out. Aaron Dobson, Kimbrell Tompkins, more rookie receivers. Josh Boyce, another rookie receiver. Jake Ballard, sluggish tight end. Not really sure if they're going to be using too many 2 tight end sets. Probably going to use 3 wide receiver sets a lot more. Using Shane Vereen and Stephen Ridley in the backfield a lot of times, probably, with Vereen going out and do pass receptions, passing routes. We'll see how that goes, but Tom Brady's got top 5 potential. Would not surprise me if he finished outside the top 10. Look at the rest of her team. Arian Foster, consensus top 3 pick in just about any fantasy draft format you have out there. Calf injuries, hurting them. Ben Tate can steal some carries from him. Foster's going to put up a solid year. May not be elite. Could be super elite. We'll see how that goes. Reggie Bush, going to Detroit. This guy can have 50 to 80 catches in the season in Detroit, especially with Matt Stafford throwing 700 plus times a year. We'll see how that plays out. 50 to 80 catches, that's wide receiver type numbers at the running back position. Add in some rushing yards, and Reggie Bush can play big dividends for the Pink Flamingos this year. Number 3 running back, mentioned a little bit already, Shane Vereen. Good young guy. They're going to get him out into some pass routes and everything else this year. Can't start 3 running backs, so one of those guys is going to be on the bench any given week. Most likely that's going to be Shane Vereen. He's a solid backup for Foster and Bush. So running backs, pretty solid for the Pink Flamingos. Wide receivers. Always been a shallow depth for the Pink Flamingos, even more so this year. Michael Crabtree, one of my favorites, hurt Achilles, gone most likely for the majority of the year, if not all of the year. He was a top 15 guy in our league last year. That is a huge blow for the Pink Flamingos, who do not have a lot of wide receiver depth to begin with. Most likely forced her hand trading a first-round pick to acquire Miles Austin. Solid wide receiver, even last year with hamstring injuries and Des Bryant going off, still put up good numbers. Going to put up some good numbers this year if he can stay healthy. Terrence Williams going to push him a lot for that number 2 wide receiver spot in Dallas. We'll see how that goes. But at least fairly solid. Believe that only Josh Boyce is their only other wide receiver that she's got on her roster. So wide receiver going to be a little weak this year for the Pink Flamingos, but has overcome other situations in the past. We'll see how she does with this. We all know the unfortunate situation with Aaron Hernandez. That's a tough blow to Pink Flamingos, not being able to recruit anything from that situation. Moving on past that, though, she did pick up Jordan Cameron, Cleveland tight end. Now, this guy is said to have top 10 tight end potential in fantasy football. He's yet to prove it. They got a new offensive coordinator, new head coach in Cleveland. We'll see how that goes. They say he's getting looks and passes early and often in training camp. Training camp doesn't always carry over into the regular season, so he may pay off big. Might just be an average tight end. We'll see how that goes. Zach Miller for the Seattle Seahawks also got a chance to be good, solid tight end. He is hurt now. Has not played in training camp. We'll see how that goes. Tight end got a chance to be solid to good for Pink Flamingos, but they just have not proven it in the fantasy football season just yet. Seattle Seahawks defense. They have saved the Pink Flamingos more times than we probably can count. For those of you that were around, I believe it was back in 2005, 2006, Dollar Will. Team is no longer in here, and probably for good reason. Up 71 points Sunday night. Just went off, saying how awesome his win was, blah, 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 blah. Seattle Seahawks played the Philadelphia Eagles on Monday Night Football. Defensive touchdown, sacks galore. They scored over 75 points, and she made a 70-point comeback on Monday Night Football. That will go down in history as one of the greatest comebacks we've ever seen in this fantasy football league. Seattle Seahawks have done that far too many times for her, whether down 10 or 50. Seattle Seahawks are playing, she's got a chance to make up those points, especially if Seattle's playing at home and in prime time. So, solid defense. Could be one of the number 1 defenses in the entire fantasy league. Solid seasons you can expect from Seattle Seahawks defense. Points, touchdowns, everything else is solid. IDPs. Richard Sherman could be the number 1 corner in all of the NFL. Number one cornerbacks in the NFL don't always translate to number one corners in fantasy football. Too much shutdown, not enough tackles, not enough interceptions, sacks, etc. So we'll see how he plays out. He was solid last year. We'll see if he can be solid again for this year. His teammate, Brandon Browner, 2011 had a very solid season. 2012 he was a little down. Charles Woodson going back to Oakland's got a real chance to put up some numbers, especially with, unfortunately, bad offense. That defense will be on the field a lot, possibly putting up some big numbers with Woodson there. Safety, defensive line, linebackers may be missing, letting guys come through. He's going to be the last line of defense. See if he can pay off some big dividends. Mario Williams, a little bit of down years after leaving Houston, and once they transfer that 3-4, Buffalo's going to a 3-4, which he isn't really happy about, so we'll see how his production does. Bruce Irvin has not quite made it impact just yet. 8 sacks as a rookie is real good, but spread out over a 13-game fantasy football season, it's hit or miss with that guy. Hopefully, comes around. Chris Clemens' injury, we thought that was going to give Irvin some playing time. They signed Cliff Averill, Michael Bennett. We're going to see how he does. To talk about moving him to outside linebacker. Maybe if he does that, he gets more tackles and puts up a few more points as a fantasy defensive lineman, as Yahoo has him listed right now. We'll see how that goes. Linebackers, Chad Greenway of the Minnesota Vikings, 130 points. Very solid, even surprising season. Can he repeat that? Maybe, maybe not. Bishop's there now. Going to take away some tackles from him. KJ Wright, 90 points fantasy. Solid, not great, not bad, though. He's a solid starter fantasy football. Dante Hightower, second-year linebacker for New England Patriots. Maybe he contributes a little more this year than he did last year. Pretty okay IDP core that she's got set up. So, said earlier before, new division opponents, 13-game season. Think we're going to look at a 9-4 playoff team in Pink Flamingos. You just never know, though. Injuries can happen. Never can predict those. You can never predict when your opponent blows up. When surprise guys get touchdowns, vice versa, everything else. But we're going to go ahead and say playoff contender. And even a title contender. You got Brady, you got Foster, you got Reggie Bush now in Detroit, catching passes, running the ball, and you got the Seattle Seahawks defense. This team has a chance at a title again. But it goes without saying, there are probably 5 to 6 teams that have a legitimate shot at winning a title. There's always a surprise team or two that comes around that puts their own name in the hat, contending for that title, so we'll see how it goes. Future of the Pink Flamingos, we'll go 2 years out, it's still looking alright. Tom Brady's probably going to play for about 4 more years, probably 2 more years at very good to elite numbers till he comes into a decline. We'll see how much he can, handle new receivers and everything else. Running backs, Foster's getting up there. Bush even as well is getting up there in age. They do not have longevity running backs in the NFL. Shane Vereen, though, good young guy. He's going to be a good pass catcher for New England Patriots. Ridley will probably get all the rushing yards, but Shane Vereen, not out of the question, he puts up 50 catches in that offense, especially if they're going to try and use him more as a slot guy with Welker out. Amendola, they're saying, is going to replace Welker, but he's real good on the outside, too. He leaves an opening in the middle. Boyce, Dobson, Kimbrell, Tompkins, probably all outside guys, leaving a void at that slot receiver, and that just may be Shane Vereen, so we'll see how that goes. Tight ends, Jordan Cameron, Zach Miller. We'll see how Jordan Cameron does. He's young. He could produce some big numbers in Cleveland's offense. We just haven't seen it yet. Not liking their old quarterback, but we'll see. He needs a quarterback that he can grow with for a few years. Seattle Seahawks defense is young and stubborn. That is going to be a good defense for 5+ years in the NFL and the fantasy football season. She has a legitimate top tier defense right there for years to come. Kicking game, not too bad. House is serviceable, and that's, a lot of times that's all you need. IDPs are solid right now. Maybe look to do a little upgrade in the defensive line with Mario Williams not shining the way he used to. And Irvin not quite coming into his own just yet. Also, situational pass rushers may not get as much opportunities as others do. So, For the future, we're going to say she's got a 2-year title run, you know, 2 to 3, possibly 4 years playoff contending run. How that, you know, goes, we'll see. We'll see. Not out of the question that she pulls a C unit and is a great team, but unfortunately, if your opponents play better, you know, not much you can do about that. You know, sometimes we put a best team out there, we go with it. It either wins or it loses for us. So we'll see how it goes. But definitely in a better position than a few other teams. Not quite as in a great position as others, so we'll see how that goes. But overall, Madden Division outlook for the Pink Flamingos is division title and a playoff spot, and a deep playoff run we are going to go ahead and predict. This is on video. We'll see how that prediction comes out. But for the 2013 season, that's what we're going with. You all know this can change with a practice today. One guy goes down with an injury, it can blow up the whole team. She's already lost a top 3 tight end and a top 15 wide receiver. Made some moves to replace those. We'll see how those moves play out. Overall, Pink Flamingos outcome is looking pretty good for this season. And we will go ahead and move on to Monster Boners coming up on Tuesday.